friends, welcome back. Now this is really going to help you on the GED RLA test or the HiSET Writing test. Okay, we're going to be going over some questions and really analyzing, are they written properly? So we're looking at grammar, mechanics, just general overall writing organization. Now, if you're here working on your GED or HiSET, I have free resources, student resources right down below. Join my list. And if you're a teacher, thank you so much for being here and devoting your time to helping our students. So I have free resources for you, a free gift for you right down below. So make sure that you click the link and you're going to receive an inbox full of all sorts of exciting surprises that will help you in your teaching. So teachers and students, I have gifts for both of you. Okay, friends, let's get started. So if you look at the directions, it actually says read, right? Read through the draft. But honestly, I don't recommend that you read through the entire draft. And the reason is this is a time test, right? So really you just need to get the gist of what's going on. So I suggest taking a quick skim. So when I do that, I like to first read the title. So here we have the National Archives. So on our class trip to the U.S. Capitol, the National Archives is located when my turn finally came. On the day we arrived, to ensure that the documents continued to be preserved, and during our trip, we saw the nation's history. Okay, now that I've skimmed it, I have a general idea of what's going on. So now I can dive right into the questions. And if I need to go back, then I definitely will. So question number 1 here. On our class trip to the U.S. Capitol, Washington, D.C., okay, really we're looking at how is the grammar? Should capital be capitalized or should capital not be capitalized? So that's what we're focusing on. So notice here how this is not capitalized, capitalized, and capitalized. So let's think about it. Is capital a common noun or is capital a proper noun? It's actually going to be a common noun, so we don't need to capitalize it. And therefore we can get rid of answer A and answer D. And now what we have going on is that comma after D period C period. So on our class trip to the U.S. Capitol, Washington, D.C. So what this is going to do is it's actually going to be giving you a little bit more information. It's called an appositive, okay? So we could just say on our class trip to the U.S. Capitol, the ... however it goes, right? But it's giving us a little bit more information. Just in case you forgot, it's Washington, D.C. That's the capital. So we actually do need this comma right here after that period. I know it looks a little awkward with D period, C period, comma, but grammatically, that's how things go. So the answer, friends, is C. Question number 2. Now, admitting at first that I did not want to go because a building full of papers and records sounded like a pretty dull thing to see. Okay, so notice how admitting at first that's bolded, but I can't really answer the question unless I read the entire sentence. So that's why I like to read just a little bit more. Sometimes even a sentence or so above will help me really figure it out as well. So let's see here. Do I say, now admitting at first that I did not, or now I have to admit that at first I did not want, or at first admitting that I did not want, or first I admitted that? These are all kind of jumbly. So what I recommend you do is read these out loud. Even if you just have to whisper it to yourself, that will help you get the answer just a little bit more, because there's slight nuances sometimes when you're answering these questions and whether, they all kind of sound the same, right? So the answer is B. Now, a lot of times you're going to go with the shorter answer because it's a little bit more precise and less wordy. But in this case, we actually need the longer one because now I have to admit at first, okay? So we don't really need that like all the other ones. We can eliminate that at the end, but at first, that at first. It's not a good explanation, but just listen to your ear on which one sounds better. Question number 3. The National Archives is located what is known as the National Mall, a long parkway stretching westward from the Capitol building. On either side are various Smithsonian museums. Okay, so let's think about it. So we're talking about the National Mall, okay? Now, if you've never been there, that's a long parkway, okay? Sometimes parkways are called malls, okay? And so it's talking about this grassy patch is stretched a long, long ways. But we need to think about, how is it written? Like, is it stretching present tense? Is it stretching right now? Or is it stretched as in the past? It's stretched, but it doesn't stretch anymore, right? So let's think about it here. So we have Long Parkway stretching. So that's the A, no change. Yes, it is still stretching. Okay, so B, stretched. Again, that would be, it's not stretching anymore, but it is, right? It is still stretching. C, it stretches. So let's read that. Along Parkway, it stretches westward. That doesn't make sense, right? We don't really need the it because we just said Long Parkway, and that's the noun or the subject of the sentence. Okay, along Parkway, which is stretched. No, because it's still stretching, and this one's a little wordy, right? So the answer is A. We're going to just keep it as is. It's stretching right now as we speak. Question number 4. Before me were the handwritten principles that have allowed our country to operate according to law and undergoing change peacefully for 200 years. At the bottom of the documents were... Okay, so with this one, we need to really think about what's the rest of the sentence, right? Here we have undergoing. Undergoing is present tense. Is this here present tense? Are these principles present tense? Were they handwritten today? No, and that's going to help us answer the question. So I'd like to look here. It says according to law, and we like to be very consistent. This is called parallel structure. So if I say according to law and to undergo. So notice how we have here to undergo, to law. So a lot of times within the sentence, you can see the answer because there are clues and you just have to go find those clues within the sentence, okay? So we just want to make sure that we are consistent. And again, you can read these out loud, read through each one, and sometimes you can eliminate questions that or options that just really don't make sense. Question 5. At the bottom of the documents were extravagantly embellished signatures, those of Ben Franklin, George Washington, and Thomas Jefferson, among many others. Okay, so which of these words, if any, is misspelled? I really like when they have several words together and I kind of have to look at, okay, here's how it's spelled, here's how it's not spelled. Actually, a lot of times the way it's written on a test now is it has, here's the word misspelled and here's the word spelled correctly, and you have to sort of choose. And I kind of like that better than just choosing which one. With this, just do your best, go through each word. Okay, so here we have extravagantly. That is actually spelled correctly. Embellished. Notice how it has that 2 L's in there. That's also spelled correctly, whereas signatures is spelled wrong with this little I right here. Okay, so it's signatures, not signatures. Number 6, one by one, people passed in front of them and paused looking. No one just hurried by. Okay, so do we say paused looking or do we say one of the other ones? Remember how I told you in a question before that there are many answers and hints throughout this sentence and throughout the paragraph. This one also has one. So look at here how we have people passed, right? So we're going to be consistent. So people passed and paused. Okay, so this is C is the only one that says pause, C and A. So we're going to eliminate B and D. So let's read them. People passed in front of them and paused looking, or people passed in front of them and paused to look. Which one sounds better with your ear? It's C, right? Paused to look. And again, if we were to look up further in the paragraph, we would still see that it wouldn't have that ing, right? We're sort of going with that to look. Okay, so look for those clues and those hints within the passage. Question 7. So this is paragraph 5. To ensure that the documents continue to be well preserved, they are sealed in helium-filled glass cases. To protect the documents further, the lights in the exhibition hall are kept low and the temperature and humidity are carefully controlled. Okay, so we're just really looking at that introduction to the second sentence. So we have here, to protect the documents further, the lights in the exhibition hall are kept low. Or to also protect the documents. So here we're saying also instead of further. which one really continues the tone of the sentence? Let's look at C. To protect the documents besides, that one doesn't really keep the tone, right? To increase protecting the documents, the lights in the exhibition hall are low. That's not going to be it either, right? So we really have A, to protect the documents further, or B, to also protect the documents. Now, either one would work, but A really maintains the tone and sort of sounds a little bit more professional. Question 8. Each night, the cases are lowered into a fireproof and shock-proof vault beneath the building. In case of an emergency, they can be lowered instantly. Okay, my friends, we have a classic run-on sentence going here, and we do not want to use a run-on sentence. There are many ways to correct a run-on sentence. So, in my academy, I actually have an entire session or an entire lesson on run-on sentences. So really make sure that you can identify run-on sentences so that you can spot them in questions like this, and so that you can not have run-on sentences in your own writing. Okay, so does B eliminate that run-on sentence where we break the sentences, sort of divorce them into two? Yes, it does. But let's look at our other options. C, eliminating that comma, yeah, it's a comma splice, but just eliminating the comma does not get rid of the run-on. And D, okay, we've got a semicolon. Semicolons can get rid of commas, yes. Can get rid of run-ons, yes. But we can't have a semicolon and. That's like someone is they're thinking of two different ways to correct run-ons, but they're just not getting it, okay? So the answer is B, turn those sentences into two separate sentences. Much to my surprise, of all the places we visited, the archives turned out to be my most favorite. Okay, so you know when you're kids and you're like, oh, my most favorite friend is this one. Well, really, favorite is taking everyone and then favorite is one. Or maybe you're talking about ice cream. Here's my favorite ice cream. You don't want to say most favorite because that is actually redundant. And so B and C are also, they're really redundant. We don't need those excess words. So the answer is D, favorite. You can just say, the archives turned out to be my favorite, right? Done, easy. Okay, question 10. So this concerns the entire draft. For the best organization of ideas, where should paragraph 3 be placed? So we're going to have to go back to the article and find that paragraph 3. Okay, so here it is. It talks about when my turn finally came to visit the historic documents. So paragraph 1 here just talks about visiting Washington, D.C. Paragraph 2 talks about what the archives is. So let's look at paragraph 4. On the day we visited, there was a long line of people. And then, look at this. Then when my turn finally came up. So we should place paragraph 3 after paragraph 4. Let's see if that's an option. Yes, it is right here, letter C, after paragraph 4. So notice how I didn't go and look at what options there were, or went into the article and saw where does it make sense to put this paragraph and where doesn't it? And then I went back and looked, okay, there it is, perfect. And that's it, we made it to the end, 10 questions, but there are actually more videos in this series, so make sure that you check out those videos as well. But my friends, thank you for being here. If you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up and comment down below and tell me that you stayed until the end. That shows me that you are purely persistent and that you're well on your way on passing that GED or that HiSET test. Okay, friends, believe in yourself just like I believe in you, and I will see you in our next video. Peace, friends. God bless you.